we go again. Another Arctic cold front ready to march into the Bluegrass State. We'll track it to start out the upcoming weekend just ahead.
He comes to the rescue of stranded drivers no matter the weather. We ride along with a Central Kentucky tow truck driver as he braves the Arctic air.
A Central Kentucky editorial cartoonist says the terror attack on a French newspaper is a reminder that free speech shouldn't be taken for granted.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 11.
Good evening to you on this cold night. You may not be able to feel much of a difference, but we are ending the day warmer than those sub-zero temperatures that many of us had this morning.
Doesn't really feel like that, but it is still cold outside. It looks like another shot, though, of Arctic air is heading our way. We begin tonight with Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey. He's tracking the Arctic blast. He's been a busy man all week. Yeah, it has been a busy and a cold time this week. And, guys, this next Arctic round introducing itself with a few snowflakes and gusty winds out there in the Bluegrass region especially. Look at the wind gusts right now. 34 miles per hour in Lexington. Danville at 29 miles per hour. This is what you're hearing out there now as the cold front that is off to our west and northwest begins to make a run at the Bluegrass State, and it again is going to continue to crank up those winds. Here we go with that secondary push of very cold air that is heading toward the south and southeast. Now, we've had the clouds for the better part of the afternoon. Joining the mix late this afternoon, a few snow flurries, and now a couple of out-and-out snow showers across the northern parts of the area. Live First Alert Defender doing a great job picking up on these little individual snow showers. Vanceburg, Flemingsburg, back toward Carlisle and good old Nicholas County, and just to the northeast of Paris. That extends a little farther to the west and north towards Cynthiana, Williamstown, and Owenton. Any snowflake that is out there, or snow shower I should say, may briefly put down a little coating. But look at temperatures. They've spiked into the mid to the upper 20s right now. But those same gusty winds making it feel a whole lot colder with wind chills still into the teens in most areas. Guys, we're talking about another temperature tumble to start that weekend when I come back in just a matter of minutes. Thank you, Chris. Working outside in bitterly cold air can be brutal, but some people tell us they've been doing it for years.
And they've learned to take some extra precautions to stay as warm as possible. Tonight, Jerica Insko rode along with a tow truck driver in Richmond who braves the Arctic cold to help stranded drivers. She continues our First Alert weather team coverage.
Some people only experience this cold when they're walking to and from their cars and don't have to be out in it for very long. But for others, they're in this cold all day, like tow truck drivers here in Richmond. Bruce Means has just about always been behind this wheel.
I've done this for 20 years. And I've had some bad winters and mild winters.
This winter so far has, well, just been really cold. And by cold, I mean Arctic cold, like below zero.
And, you know, that long it's hard to stay warm because once you get cold, you're cold.
And sometimes that happens to tow truck drivers like Means. He says his job can be demanding, putting him in the weather for hours at a time.
You touch the chains and the beds of the truck, they're metal, chains are metal. And so I get real cold pretty quick.
But he knows the people he's picking up are also shivering without a working vehicle and possibly without heat.
All right, thank you. Well, for one, it's dangerous, to be out in the cold. And so, we try to get to them as soon as we can.
He'd rather no one had car trouble during this cold snap.
Just for their sake and mine, no one wants to be out in the cold. And so, maybe everybody can stay warm.
But as long as you're out and about, this guy is too. When they get lots of tow calls at once, they do prioritize calls from people who are stuck on the side of the road in the cold and also wreck calls from police. In Richmond, Jerica Insko, WKYT.
And of course, during cold snaps like this one, it is always a good idea to keep extra blankets and warm clothing in your vehicle in case you do break down.
Just as that Arctic air moved in, an organization that helps those less fortunate in Lexington is dealing with a tough break. The Lexington Rescue Mission helps hundreds of people every week, but Tuesday an aging sewage pipe ruptured, causing the mission to close its building for now. Crews are now working to repair that pipe, but mission leaders tell us it's a $15,000 fix.
It's devastating just to have this sort of expense at this time of the year when we're trying to do the most. We're trying to put most of our resources in helping people.
The missions building has been closed this week, and it could be closed next week, too. Volunteers at Embrace Church have stepped in to allow the rescue mission to provide most of its services at the church on North Limestone.
Dozens of school districts canceled classes today because of the bitterly cold temperatures, but many students spent the day learning from home. Some school districts, including Jessamine County, are taking part in a pilot program that allows non-traditional instruction days. Every student receives take-home lessons, and teachers can still be reached by email if students have any questions. Parents we talked to like the program.
To be able to help your kids and enjoy a snow day, but also get that education thrown in there too.
School districts receive 10 non-traditional instruction days they can take as part of the pilot program. These days do not need to be made up. And for a full list of closings and delays, along with updated weather information, just go to WKYT.com.
A crash on one of Lexington's busiest roads sent 2 people to the hospital. It happened about 4:30 this afternoon on Nicholasville Road at Marketplace Drive near Manowar Boulevard. Police say a Lexus and a Ford collided at the intersection. They say the 2 people in the Lexus were taken to UK hospital. One of those injured could have life-threatening injuries. Lexington police called out their collision reconstruction unit to figure out what caused the crash. Tonight, the manhunt continues for 2 gunmen accused of killing 12 people at the offices of a French newspaper.
French police spent the night going door to door in villages north of Paris looking for the 2 men who are brothers. Police say the men are the main suspects in the attack yesterday at Charlie Hebdo, a satirical newspaper in Paris. Police think the men later robbed a gas station. In Paris, a national day of mourning was marked by the ringing of the bells and the Eiffel Tower going dark.
Taking the metro, waking up this morning, it's been totally silent. The most noise I've heard today has been from the bells.
The Charlie Hebdo newspaper plans to publish next week. Newspaper cartoonists around the world say this terror attack will not silence them. They say it's more important than ever to protect free speech. New at 11, Garrett Weimer talks to Lexington Herald leader editorial cartoonist Joel Pett.
You want to think, well, the pen is mightier than the sword in the long run, but when something like this happens, at least for a short time, it's not.
Joel Pett won a Pulitzer Prize for his work as an editorial cartoonist. He's also the president of a nonprofit that champions the rights of cartoonists across the world. Pett says a lot of us here in the United States take for granted freedom of expression, and it's attacks like the one we saw in Paris that remind us of its price tag in other parts of the world.
It's just easy to forget that this stuff is a right. It doesn't have to be speech that you particularly agree with. In fact, it's interesting how often it's not.
Pett says cartoonists every day face people who don't like their work, but it normally isn't a big concern.
Well, here in the Bible Belt, if you knock people's religion, they're more likely to contact you and tell you that they're praying for you. The last time I had a serious threat, it was from UK basketball fans who didn't like what I had drawn about their coach. That's a religion in itself in this neighborhood, as I'm sure you know.
The product of Pett's pen on this day, standing with the fallen members of what he calls a close-knit community.
Some of my pals.
In Lexington, Garrett Weimer, WKYT.
Well, Pett says the attacks also remind him that those with a platform have the obligation to provoke the right people for the right reasons.
Some disorder in the court today when part of an eastern Kentucky courthouse flooded. Magoffin County leaders think a faulty sprinkler head started the problem this morning at the Magoffin County Justice Center. But some pipes burst later in the day, making the damage worse. County leaders say both the district and circuit courtrooms were flooded and they lost some equipment. And they say it's not the first time this has happened.
Last year, the sprinkler system on this side of the building, on the family court side of the building, burst. And we had a leak, but nothing compared to this one.
Court was in session when the pipes started bursting, so the Justice Center was evacuated. Magoffin County leaders are not sure when it will reopen, but they think crews can repair the damage fairly quickly.
A third of Kentucky counties have elected jailers, but no jails. But one Kentucky lawmaker thinks it's time to change that. Republican Representative Phil Moffitt of Louisville wants to file a bill that would shift any duties jailers have in those counties to the sheriffs. According to the Kentucky Center for Investigative Reporting, the Perry County jailer makes $69,000 a year, but the county doesn't have a jail. That's the highest salary of any jailer without a jail in the state. Moffitt says his bill could save the state $2 million each year.
You know, $2 million isn't a lot of money in our budget, but we should be able to fix the small things as much as the big things. So let's do something right.
Moffitt said he should be able to file his bill soon. Anderson, Harrison, Mercer, Nicholas, and Bath counties are some of the counties in our area that have jailers, but no jail. He was trying to help others after a crash, but police say a Pulaski County man was killed.
Police say that Leonard Mink was one of 3 people who died during a pileup on snowy Interstate 80 up in Pennsylvania. They say Mink got out of his tractor trailer to help some children after an initial crash when he was hit by another vehicle. Family members say that Mink will be remembered for being a loving father and grandfather and for his ability to make people laugh. We're tracking the investigation into a deadly crash in Johnson County. It happened this morning on Highway 3 in the Van Leer community. State police say a car crossed the median and hit a truck. The truck then rolled down an embankment. Police say the driver of the truck, 34-year-old Randall Powers, died at the scene. Police say he was not wearing his seatbelt.
A Kentucky newspaper issued a retraction after attributing a racist quote to the Hardin County Sheriff. The quote was in a story about National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, printed in today's Elizabethtown News Enterprise. The story quotes Sheriff John Ward as saying those who go into the law enforcement profession typically do it because they have a desire to shoot minorities. Well, Sheriff Ward never said that. He says the quote was made up.
After speaking to both the publisher and editor of the News Enterprise, I have been advised that the original story was changed by an employee of the paper, supposedly as a prank.
The News Enterprise issued a retraction on its website tonight, and it has apologized to Sheriff Ward. The newspaper's editor said the reporter who wrote the story was not responsible. The editor said the incorrect quote was added during a process that was supposed to rid the news pages of any errors. Tonight, he said the 2 employees responsible for inserting it had been fired.
The committee in charge of redrawing school boundaries in Fayette County held another meeting today. In an email sent to parents tonight, committee chair Alan Stein said the meeting focused on elementary school boundaries. 2 new elementary schools are planned for Georgetown Road and Passage Mound Way off of Polo Club Boulevard. Stein said the committee did not make any final decisions today, but at least 4 more public meetings are planned this month. The committee hopes to give its redistricting recommendations to the Board of Education in March.
Tonight, we are tracking the investigation into a series of utility trailer thefts in Laurel County. The Laurel County Sheriff's Office says the trailers have been stolen from both homes and businesses over the last month. Many of the trailers look like the one that you see here. Deputies say most of the trailers are worth between $1,500 and $3,000. Police have not made any arrests. Laurel County Crime Stoppers is offering a $500 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction.
A bill designed to fight Kentucky's heroin problem took another step forward today. The state Senate unanimously approved the bill. It would set aside more than $7 million for substance abuse treatment programs in jails. It would also shield heroin users from minor drug charges if they dial 911 during an overdose. Governor Beshear called for similar legislation during his State of the Union Commonwealth address last night.